Hey everyone, welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
Got Jaime and Fuego here.
And we are here to do a, I guess week-appropriate review of a comic book series. I was hoping to get it up Wednesday, but here's the thing. Wouldn't make much sense to put up the review of the Predators comic book when we were just putting up the Predator comic. So here we are on Friday, and we are reviewing Predators, which is technically this is the prequel to the Predators movie directed by Robert Rodriguez. I have the 4-issue series here on loan from Mr. Fueguissimo right there. I did not actually pick these up, so I'm glad that he did. Now I'm gonna have to go back and get them because I've apparently gone on a horror, property kick here.
I noticed that.
Did you notice that? Yeah, I've got some cool stuff. But anyway, Fuego, why don't you show what you have? You have the trade paperback.
Yeah, and the cool thing that the trade actually encompasses, if it's not going to get all glary, is so this has both the prequel 4-issue series, it has the adaptation, and it has a couple sequel issues. It's got like one or two where it actually gives some more information about what happens with Adie and Brody's character and the lady after the film ends.
Get out of here! I didn't even know that. Now I feel like I'm missing out.
I forgot about that too until I was taking a glance through this. So, yeah.
All right, well, let's get into it, Fuego. So we'll start off with the 4-issue prequel series. Mm-hmm. Now, this is about a whole different, company of soldiers. Literally, it's a little regiment. It's a group of soldiers that have fought together that get dropped into the Predators zone. Because if you've seen the Predators movie, you know they get dropped in, unceremoniously. And so, but these are a group of people that actually know each other, as opposed to the movie that's a group of people that don't know each other.
Yeah, it's a battalion that gets scooped right out of a conflict in Afghanistan, and then they're just thrown onto the same planet, this hunting planet of sorts that we spend the entirety of the Predators film with. So,
and then while it happens, we do once again meet up with Lawrence Fishburne's character, as we do in the Predators movie.
Yep.
And what's interesting about this, Fuego, I can't remember where we heard this, and I don't remember if you were standing next to me when we heard this or not, but apparently the Lawrence Fishburne character was supposed to originally be Danny Glover from Predator 2.
Yeah, I think I told you that during the Predators review.
Go ahead, take credit and tell everyone what you told me.
Yeah, well, I can't remember if this is like a confirmed report or whatever, but somebody was bringing this to my attention just recently where they said that the Lawrence Fishburne character who has been surviving on that planet for 10 seasons was originally supposed to be Danny Glover's character from Predator 2, how they were so impressed with him that they came back and scooped him up and threw him on this hunting planet. And, obviously, if any character could survive that long on this Predator hunting grounds place, it would be a character who hunted a predator himself in that second film, but didn't end up happening. I don't know if it was creative differences, scheduling conflict, whatever, but yeah, so we got Fishburne, and he's good. He's not really in a ton of the film, but like
underdeveloped as well.
Yeah, unfortunately. So it is cool to get a little bit more with him in this character, Drake, who Drake is the lone survivor in the comics, in this comic prequel series of the battalion from Afghanistan that gets dropped in, because him and all his homies just get attacked immediately, and everyone dies except for him. So,
true.
Yeah.
And that's what's weird about the series. The writing it felt very lopsided. The pacing was very off to me. It's very front-loaded with stuff, and then there's like some Home Alone type stuff in episode 3. But here's the thing. What's weird about the Home Alone stuff in episode 3, or issue 3, is that he sets up all of these traps, and then he doesn't use any of them. He literally tosses the spear at the Predator, the spear explodes, and then he runs and is like, and Lawrence Fishburne's character has to jump in. He never actually uses any of the traps that he sets up in the comic. It's so weird.
I'm really amused by you making the Home Alone comparison, because I was just watching honest trailers on Screen Junkies just the other day, and they did an honest trailer for the first Predator film, and they were like going scene by scene from Home Alone to the original Predator with Arnold.
Really? That's hilarious.
It was so funny, dude. Oh my God, was it hilarious.
No, I didn't even see that.
Okay, well, you get all the credit then.
No, that's the way it felt. He set up all these traps. He didn't use a single one. And he didn't even, they didn't even show him attach explosives to the spear. So the only trap he did use was one we didn't see him set up. It was very odd. The writing was very subpar, and we do need to shout out the writer. Go ahead.
Yeah, the writer is Mark Andreyko, and Mark Andreyko's a guy I've seen compete on the Schmodown for the Collider people many times, and he's a very...
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. Finish what you're saying, and I'll tell you.
It's very just kind of meh, honestly. It's not very inspired. It's not very interesting, and I will agree with you that it moves at such a brisk pace, and the fact that it's interesting how in the 4 issues they intersperse, like they'll do like 3/4 of the story is about this Drake character being on the planet, and then they flash to prequel stuff with Adrian Brody's character.
Well, that's a backup's tale. Yeah, that's actually written by David Lapham.
That one is done by a different person. Yeah,
right. David Lapham is a crime writer that actually did some Batman stuff in the Detective Comics series, probably about 5 or 6, maybe 7 or 8 years ago. So Lapham actually does have a pedigree. I think he actually did a Crossed series too, if I'm not mistaken. I know he did an independent version of a series that I was a big fan of. So yeah, David Lapham, and we should shout out
Stray Bullets. It says here.
Yeah, Stray Bullets. Yeah, crime writer. He's a big time crime writer, and one of the books he wrote, if I'm not mistaken, was. One of the Batman books he wrote in Detective Comics dealt with the Jabberwocky. Like, it was really cool. Like, I was really into what he did. He did something with, like, the Mad Hatter or something like that brought in the Jabberwocky. And I was like, oh, shit, I love the Jabberwocky. That's awesome.
And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. That's good stuff right there.
And the artist for the main series, do you want to attempt that? It's Guillermo Balbi, and then the backup story by Lapham is written by Gabriel Guzman, or drawn by Gabriel Guzman. He's the penciler. So
yeah, there's a lot of credits in this trade edition because they have the credits for the pencilers and the inkers and the colorers for both the, because it says here prequel, adaptation, and sequel, and even more so if you can track down the trade here. The cool thing is it says filmmaker Robert Rodriguez helped conceptualize the comic books to coincide with the blockbuster film Predators. So he worked with his Troublemaker Studios directly with Dark Horse when they were just making this whole event that was this Predators film coming out.
I'm OCD. I'm going to have to try and track down those damn issues. God damn.
Yeah.
Thanks, Fuego.
That's all right.
All right, well, let's continue on. Now, how did you think the, let's just go ahead and give our overall impressions. We'll do the regular review thing. My overall impressions were that it was a subpar, off-pace, kind of uninteresting comic book.
Yeah, it was boring.
That had okay gore in the first issue. I thought the gore we got in the last issue was so cheesy looking. When it's, whatever.
Oh, where the final...
Yeah, it was so bad. I was like, Jesus. So, unfortunately, I felt the 4-issue prequel, which is all I read. I didn't read the actual adaptation of the follow-up issues, but the 4-issue prequel was very lackluster and underwhelming, frankly.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't find the Drake character interesting at all. Like donuts for captivating, kind of approach. And they didn't really shed too much additional light on the Fishburne character.
Nope.
And I guess the stuff with the Adrian Brody where he's trying to take out the Warlord, before he gets, plucked up and stuff is okay.
Yeah, in the backup issues.
Yeah, but it's actually funny because in the trade, what they do is they just take all of the stuff with Drake and Fishburne and they have that as one just seamless narrative.
Oh,
and
really?
Then those little chunks with the Brody character they actually front load in the adaptation portion because they give some history about the chick who's plucked up from Guatemala who he survives the film with, and they're really the only ones, and they're the ones obviously they're going to follow in the sequel couple issues that they did too. But I don't know, it's just okay. That's the thing. It feels very much so like I was never a fan of the adaptation of Predator 2 or, just movie tie-in adaptation things. I've never really been as inclined. If it's a film, I usually am like, okay, I'll stick to the film and any promotional stuff associated with it, whether it's an adaptation or a little prequel or, sequel, whatever thing. I've never been as into those. And I know some people that are, but yeah, this felt like just shameless promotion that was half-baked and not really not really very inspired, I guess.
Yeah,
So,
definitely it didn't feel inspired, which is a bummer because I'm actually a fan of Mark Andreyko. He is, I'm not sure if he's gay himself, but he's a big proponent of that. Yeah, okay, I thought so. Yeah. He wrote a series in DC that I love called Manhunter. It's a fantastic series about a female that just kicks ass and has this like electrified staff, and she like hunts down criminals and stuff. And it was a really good series, a really cool, action-packed sort of female-driven detective series. So I was like, "Oh, Mark Andreyko read this," and then I read it, and I'm like, "Damn, that was some uninspired shit." I'm not sure what happened there.
Yeah, it's a bummer because, you know, even seeing him, you know, competing on the movie trivia shows and things like I have, he is incredibly articulate and so sharp. And this, especially knowing that and knowing the fact that you're a fan of Manhunter and some of his other stuff, it's like, okay, this was probably just a paycheck, you know?
Yeah, that's what it feels like, yeah.
You know?
Well, and a paycheck, but not only that, but a chance to at least dabble in perhaps a property that he loves.
Yeah.
I just wish it had been, you know, a little bit more effort put in or something. I don't know. It
felt like it was written for 12-year-olds. And I've read some very sophisticated Predator miniseries and stories and stuff, and this just didn't have it, man.
Yeah.
You know, it didn't feel as adult as I wanted it to. And that is one of the problems that the Predator series has found with, you know, things like the PG-13 first AVP film and stuff like that. It's like when it tries to cater more towards a younger crowd as opposed to the 4 R-rated films now that we've had, it just, I don't know, it feels softened and just underdeveloped and not as interesting. So.
Yeah, I tend to find the same thing, unfortunately. Well, let's talk about the art. The art was, I thought it was okay. It was kind of average, but I liked the fact, I always like bold, heavy lines. This was very shadow-tastic. Like, there was a lot of heavy shadows in this book.
Lots of heavy shading around characters and stuff like that. And
let me see if I can show a little bit of the art here on my window. But what were your thoughts on the artwork?
Once again, it didn't feel super realistic, and I guess it, for that reason, kind of tied in with the more cartoony, childlike tone of sorts, where the dialogue is very simple, and not that the art is super simplistic, but, you know, it didn't have as much of an essence of realism, you know, at least for me. It felt much more of the fantastic, and it's also very brightly colored at times, despite the shading and the shadowing, like the heavy black lines across, like, especially this Drake character himself. And I can't say I'm the biggest fan of the way the Predator is drawn in this.
It's a little wonky at times, yeah.
Yeah, wonky is a really good way of describing it. I honestly think that these painted covers are super cool. You know, the ones that we actually saw with the Adrian Brody character, like I don't know, it's like I would probably prefer just prints of the covers and stuff. I actually think that the pencils by this Gabriel Guzman guy, I actually like the art that was done for the main comic and for the prequel stuff, because I'm trying to see if it's the same artist who... Okay, no, unfortunately. So they bring it... It's just a hodgepodge of a lot of different art approaches. Like, yeah, the little flashback story with Brody here. I prefer this art to the one in the Drake and Fishburne character story. It's a little more on the side of realism for me, just a tad.
This is the Drake. I'm showing the Drake Predator, the Drake story Predator right now. He's a little bit off. He's in the cage. At this point, I'm looking at issue 4.
Yeah.
But there's some interesting stuff, just so you guys get a good idea. I'm hoping this is showing up on the camera because I can't actually see it as we record it. But
yeah.
There's some interesting stuff when the Predators... I like when we see the Predators cloaked towards the end. I like that kind of art, but it is extraordinarily, like, lacking detail. It's just sort of... I don't know. There's something about it.
Well, and they brought in another
this right
person.
Here, this cloaked Predator, which is the silver-jawed Predator from the movie. That's the thing. We get the silver-jawed Predator from the movie in the main storyline, and then we get the tusked Predator at the very end of the Adrian Brody storyline.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of interesting. Like, if you're a big fan of the movie, I would say it's worth checking into, but otherwise, I don't think you're missing anything by skipping over this.
No, and I mean, even as I looked at, they brought in somebody different to do the pencils and the inks and stuff for the sequel bit, where you get to follow the Brody character and the surviving lady from the film.
Does it bring in another Predator or something? Like, what's the point?
Well, it's, as I'm looking at it right now, I'm kind of getting a quick little refresher. It says, for 2 months I've watched these skies, waiting for the monster ship to return. So essentially, it like catches up with them after they've been surviving Lawrence Fishburne style for a few months on the island.
Oh.
And there's some stuff with Brody's character throwing on some Predator armor. I'm gonna have to. I honestly had forgotten that there was the little sequel bit in here. So if you guys want, I mean, I don't know, is it really worth tracking down the single comic just for this? As I scan through it, the art is not really too impressive, and the art is probably the most cartoony of all in this sequel bit here. But, I mean, yeah, once again, David Latham, you said that's his name?
Lapham.
Lapham, okay, yeah. David Lapham, he is the one who scripts this little sequel bit, too. So, I don't know. I guess if you're a completist, track it down. If not, the art isn't anything that's going to really blow you away. Although, like I said, I do like those painted covers that they had for all four of those issues. Yeah, I don't know. I have every Alien and Predator comic and all their weird respective crossovers, so I have a huge long box full of all those. So I had to have it, but is it like essential reading? Probably not.
Did you get you didn't get the individual sequel issue though, did you?
I had initially purchased it when it first came out, and then I sold it or gave it to a friend or something when I picked this up. So since this had everything together, yeah.
All right, well, I'll just hang on to these then.
There you go. Yeah.
And I was kidding, but if you want me to, I will. Fucking for sure. It's 4 less issues I have to buy. But yeah, well, thank you very much for loaning them to me, Fuego.
Oh yeah, dude.
I'm glad we got to review it. It's a bummer it didn't end up being very good, but at least you guys know that you can skip it if you want to, or get it if you're a diehard fan. You'll get to see a bunch of soldiers killed by a Predator, at least in the first issue.
Yeah, and then you get a tiny bit of backstory about some of the characters. If you really, really like the Predators film and you really want that tiny bit of backstory about Lawrence Fishburne and about the Brody character and the Guatemalan girl, I mean, track it down. You know, if you want to see where the story went afterwards, it is official like canon tied in with the film. So I mean, if you really have that urge, if you feel like the movie ended on kind of a cliffhanger, which I suppose it kind of did, but you know.
Yeah, let us know if you guys are interested in checking this out or not. I'd be interested to get your guys' opinion on it. But thanks very much for watching. Until next time, I've been Cecil Laird.
Gracias, Jaime. Fuego.
Thank you, of course, to all of our patrons for supporting the channel. We greatly appreciate you guys. Click the link in the description box if you want to become a patron, and you can select a movie or a TV show or a game or a comic book for us to review too, or review, whatever. Feel free to send us down whatever path you want. If you do join up, we appreciate you. But until next time, remember, stay scared
of the Predator blowing your face off.